Joining us via telephone is Steve Forde, and Steve is with the Marcellus Shale Coalition. He is the Vice President of Policy and Communication. Steve, welcome to Financial Voices. How are you this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. I believe you're out in the other end of the state in Pittsburgh, correct?
We're in Pittsburgh, but we've got an office in Philadelphia as well. I spend a lot of time out there, and we've got a woman by the name of Sherry Williams, a community outreach manager who's based in Philly as well, and we're in all parts of the Commonwealth.
Wonderful. Well, Steve, for those who have not had a chance to really understand Marcellus Shale, can you give us a quick history first on what Marcellus Shale is and why is it such a big deal?
Sure. Yeah, the Marcellus Shale is a geological formation, and thanks to some advances in technology, we're able to extract natural gas from shale formations really all around the world, and Pennsylvania just so happens to be sitting on top of one of the most prolific shale formations in the world, and Philadelphia is really at the doorstep of that. And it's a formation that, as I mentioned, produces an immense amount of natural gas. And over the last 4, 5, 6 years, we've seen across Pennsylvania the increase in the amount of natural gas development, particularly in the southwestern and northeastern parts of Pennsylvania, and transporting that natural gas to market, whether it's here in Pennsylvania or to other parts of the country and potentially other parts of the world. And that's why Philadelphia really is at the hub of so much of the work that can be done out of the Marcellus, whether it's getting that fuel to other countries or whether it's using it as a feedstock for manufacturing. Philadelphia really has an immense amount of opportunity to gain out of this.
Well, here on the eastern part of the state, we oftentimes feel like this is something that's happening in the mid part of the state or the western part, and that we're sort of left out. How do we get involved in this? Is it through building a pipeline and letting the whatever is pumped out of the ground come this way and we ship it out to other places of the world?
That's one possibility. That's one opportunity. There's really dozens of potential opportunities that Philadelphia has to gain out of this. First and foremost, all Philadelphians in one way or another are benefiting from lower natural gas prices, and those prices are down because of the increase in the amount of natural gas that we're producing here in Pennsylvania and across the country as well.
So definitely supply and demand. The law of supply and demand is working as we continue to find. Right. More supply of this is driving prices down.
Absolutely, and we're seeing that firsthand here in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. But longer term, the Port of Philadelphia has potentially a lot to gain out of this if we're going to export this natural gas to other nations, and certainly we're supportive of that effort. The refineries they stand to gain out of this. 18 months ago, it looked as if those refineries were going to be mothballed for good, and because of the production of natural gas in other parts of Pennsylvania, those refineries are now seeing some new life. So, in being able to refine and utilize the natural gas that we're producing here in Pennsylvania as a feedstock for other materials through manufacturing is a real opportunity for Philadelphia, and one that we're now just beginning to realize, and we're seeing that firsthand in a lot of communities.
So if someone is interested in job opportunities or business opportunities related to Marcellus Shale and what's taking place, you mentioned the refineries. What are some of the other ways for people to get involved economically?
Absolutely. What we're seeing across Pennsylvania, including in Philadelphia, the Community College of Philadelphia being the latest example of this, is there's a number of energy programs that are being developed at educational institutions across Pennsylvania. The Community College last November launched an energy center where they have devised and put together a curriculum and a variety of programs to help train workers for positions in our industry. And it could be firsthand experience, on drilling rigs somewhere in Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. It could be as part of a very vibrant and vigorous and growing supply chain. The companies that provide goods and services to the companies that are drilling and producing natural gas, or it could be downstream opportunities, whether it's at the refineries or within the manufacturing industry. There's a variety of opportunities around jobs to help garner family-sustaining wages for thousands across Pennsylvania. So I would urge those who have an interest in learning about how to get more involved in this industry, certainly look to your educational institutions. As I mentioned, the Community College of Philly is one of those. On our website, marcelluscoalition.org, there's a jobs portal where individuals can learn about jobs that are available through our nearly 300 member companies that are part of the Marcellus Shale Coalition, and really just get more educated on the work that's being done by our industry in Pennsylvania. Learn about the opportunities that really are making themselves known now to Philadelphia for the first time, and learn about how you might be able to position yourself or your business within the industry or its vibrant supply chain.
And Steve, their website was marcelluscoalition.org.
Right. MarcellusCoalition.org is our main website, and then we have another website, learnaboutshale.org, which is focused primarily on southeastern Pennsylvania and really helping to answer a lot of the questions that individuals, not just in southeastern Pennsylvania, but across Pennsylvania and across the country, have about the work that we're doing, whether it's questions about environmental protection or economic opportunity. That is a place where we're soliciting questions from individuals from the community, and we're answering them with facts and with third-party resources to ensure that the right kind of information is getting into the hands of the individuals who want it.
Well, when you talk about economic impact, one of the discussions that we're constantly hearing here on the eastern part of the state is the whole tax issue and how it relates to the underfunding of the schools and what the governor wants to do with that. I mean, there was big discussion about not taxing the revenues and helping out the school system. Where are we with that now?
Well, due to the growth of our industry, we're paying as a natural gas industry combined, well in excess of $1.7 billion in taxes, just in traditional business taxes that are paid by any industry in Pennsylvania. And the more that we're producing, the more people that we're going to employ in Pennsylvania and the more taxes that would be paid. But what happened last year in our General Assembly is we established a new funding stream that is solely focused on natural gas producers, and it's called an impact fee. And beginning last year, our industry is paying an additional fee on top of all the taxes that is paid by any business that will provide dollars to literally every county and every municipality in Pennsylvania, regardless of whether Marcellus gas is produced there or not. And it is to help to mitigate any of the impacts that may have been associated with Marcellus gas production in Pennsylvania. So it could be road construction projects, it could be environmental projects as well. There are a variety, 13, 14 different categories of uses that this impact fee can be used toward. And what that does is it creates some budget breathing room for communities that might be dealing with educational offsets or pension issues, and it provides new funding streams to pay for projects that have been priorities of a variety of communities for some time now.
Okay, well, and you mentioned impact. There's also a lot of discussion about the impact of fracking and the whole process on the environment. How is the industry dealing with that? Well,
I think doing it in a very transparent, open, honest, and straightforward way. This kind of conversation that we're having today, the kind of conversation that is front and center on learnaboutshale.org, it's important to ensure that we're conveying to residents of Pennsylvania, and I'm one of them. I'm raising a family here, my wife and two daughters, and we've got the same environmental concerns that residents of Philadelphia or Tunkhannock or any community across Philadelphia have. And ensuring that we're answering questions with science and in a straightforward way is job one. Equally important to that, though, is to ensure that we're utilizing technology to put in place the best available practices to protect whether it's air quality or groundwater or land preservation. And here in Pennsylvania, we're operating under one of the strictest regulatory climates in all of America when it comes to natural gas production, whether it's multiple strings and multiple levels of cement and steel that are used to encase natural gas wells to ensure that we're protecting water quality is vital. And that's something that the state mandates of us, and it's something that our member companies are complying with great regularity in ensuring that preserving our water, air, and land, the most important resources of all, is top priority for this industry, and one that we're continuing to improve upon each and every day.
So you're drinking the same water the rest of us are drinking.
We're all drinking the same water, and we are all equally dedicated to protecting the groundwater and water resources in the Commonwealth. We're all raising families here together.
Great. Well, can you help us out too? Just, I've used the word fracking, and I don't know if everyone understands what that process entails. Can you give us a general description?
Absolutely. It's a 60-plus year technology that's been utilized to develop energy resources in the United States. So it's not new. It's not even new to Pennsylvania. It's certainly new in being used at the level that it's being used today. So essentially, the Marcellus Shale formation is about a mile and a half under the surface. And it's a tight formation. It's organic material that's been cooked over time, essentially over millions and millions of years, and trapped within that is natural gas pockets. And drilling down into the Marcellus Shale itself and then horizontally into it creates an opportunity, once that formation is fractured, to allow that natural gas to flow back up to the surface. So hydraulic fracturing is simply using water, sand, and some additives to fracture that shale. The sand acts as a proppant, which essentially keeps the fractures within the shale open once that hydraulic fracturing takes place, and that allows the the natural gas to flow back up to the surface. It is highly sophisticated in that it happens so far under the surface that it's almost unthinkable to imagine that we're bringing up natural gas from that far and from that tight a formation. But it is a process that's been used for some time, and it's being improved upon each and every day, particularly when combined with horizontal drilling, which we have to do into the Marcellus Shale formation itself.
So then the reports we heard about tremors or earthquakes taking place as a result of fracking, that's true or untrue?
Yeah, those are untrue. There have been disposal wells, and one in particular that happened to be located in northeastern Ohio, which was connected to potential tremors in that area. That was not a natural gas well. That was a well that was used to dispose water and other waste from a variety of industrial uses. But I think it's a convenient way to try to lead with fear rather than with facts, and many on the other side of this issue, certainly try to latch on to any and every media opportunity to resort to fear rather than facts to drive their message and to drive their mission. But in reality, this is a process that's been used for more than 6 decades in the United States. Millions of wells have been hydraulically fractured using this technology, and that's continuing today in a very, very safe way here in Pennsylvania and across the country.
Well, this is good information, Steve. We've got to take a break for local news and commercial. When we come back, we'd like to hear about the coalition. And then I think you guys have an event taking place in Philadelphia in September. We'd like to hear more about that as well. So can you hold on just a few moments?
Absolutely.
All right. This is Wake Up with WURD, powered by PICO. Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Financial Voices with Charmaine Matlock Turner and Steve Sanders. Charmaine is traveling today, so I'm holding down the fort and glad to be here with you. Our guest today is from the Marcellus Shale Coalition. It is Steve Forde. He's Vice President of Policy and Communications. And Steve, we've opened the phone lines, so we have at least one caller for you, and then we'll come back and talk some more about, the coalition and your upcoming event.
Sounds great.
Great. Hey, Cliff, how are you? Cliff from Yaden. Thank you for joining us. What is your question for our guest today?
Hello, good afternoon, good morning.
Thank you.
I guess my question pertaining to Marcellus Shale is, you touched on it when you asked the question about the taxes. And we have, most of the citizens here, definitely I have not ever heard whereas Marcellus Shale was paying their share of taxes, because we've got the reports that the governor gave the company complete leniency on taxes, and that hurt our school system. So my question is, explain the $1.9 billion in taxes you talked about, and where is the safety factor that can prove what you're saying? Because when I go on YouTube, I watch the boiling water that catches fire from the residents that their property has been drilled on, and the horizontal drilling that alleviates the residents in upstate Pennsylvania from getting paid, because they don't even know the drilling is taking place, because the drill's not going straight down on top of their property. Your company's drilling a quarter mile away horizontally, so people don't even know that the extraction is being done underneath their house a mile down. So it sounds like you're being a company representative or giving a great story, but for us that watch and follow this story for the last 3 years, Marcellus Shale is not doing anything for the residents where the drilling is taking place. So I wish I can get some accurate information.
All right, Steve, it sounds like there are at least two issues there, the tax issue and the environmental impact again.
Right. Well, first on the tax issue, again, corporate taxes paid by our industry to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania since 2006 is greater than $1.7 billion. These are traditional taxes that are paid by any corporation doing business in Pennsylvania. And Pennsylvania has, quite frankly, statewide, one of the least competitive tax situations in the country, where we're paying higher corporate income tax rates than companies would be in other states in the United States. So that's one example. On top of that, road construction investments since 2008, more than $500 million made by the companies operating here in Pennsylvania. Royalty payments made directly to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania just in 2011 alone, $107 million. We're paying additional permitting and enforcement fees to the Department of Environmental Protection here in Pennsylvania to increase the number of personnel who are able to work with our industry to ensure that we're compliant with the regulations that we're mandated to comply with here in Pennsylvania, and between $10 and $20 million paid into that, and then the impact fee that I talked about earlier. More than $400 million of new money, new revenue stream going into Commonwealth coffers, and this is every county in Pennsylvania, whether or not Marcellus production is taking place in that county or not, is receiving dollars from this industry. The city of Philadelphia alone, in the first year of the impact fee payments, received more than $1 million without a single molecule of Marcellus natural gas being produced within the city limits. So there are dollars flowing from this industry to the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, and I know that certainly a variety of interests across Pennsylvania often look to the new kid on the block and kind of the biggest kid on the block to pay its quote-unquote fair share. And I think we've paid, quite frankly, our fair share and then some. And that was through the establishment of the impact fee last year. So I think on dollars going to Commonwealth residents alone, we're certainly happy to stand on the record that exists. With regard to the second part of the question on the environmental protection, again, with horizontal drilling, again, it does take into account a variety of properties and a variety of owners of mineral rights from one parcel of land to another, and individuals who have drilling that is taking place underneath their property are certainly aware of it, because they're receiving, quite frankly, royalty checks and lease payments to compensate and to compensate them for the business arrangement that they've got with drillers themselves. So it's certainly not a surprise to individuals who are having drilling done under their property, because quite honestly, they're benefiting in an economic way from it firsthand.
So those people are notified if it's horizontal drilling. They're notified.
Those people they have to enter into agreements with companies before that can take place. So they're fully aware of it, and we certainly encourage any landowner who's been approached by an official from an energy company who has an interest in drilling within their property to work with attorneys to ensure that you're fully informed on exactly what is going to take place. But it's certainly not a surprise. And the last one I'd want to talk about is the Flaming Faucet. This is the great sort of rallying cry of those who oppose the responsible development of natural gas here in Pennsylvania. It comes from a movie, Gasland, which purportedly is a documentary. But it is funded and produced by one of the staunchest opponents of natural gas development in the United States by the name of Josh Fox. And there was a scene from that movie where an individual set tap water on fire. This was out west. The reality is, in northeastern Pennsylvania and throughout Pennsylvania, there is just geologically a great amount of pre-existing methane that exists in groundwater, and those who have water wells on their property, well before Marcellus gas was produced here in Pennsylvania, had a prevalence of methane in their groundwater. That could potentially lead to incidents such as, what was depicted in that movie. But that was the other part of the story that wasn't being told by the producer, is that much of this is pre-existing prior to Marcellus or natural gas production. And in reality, the companies who are doing work in drilling and in energy production here in Pennsylvania are required to notify residents in communities where drilling is taking place of the quality of their water. And often this is the first time that these residents are hearing about the quality of their water, whether it's good or bad. And they're hearing it firsthand from the member companies of the Marcellus Shale Coalition and others in our industry.
Well, thank you for providing us with that information, Steve, and thank you, Cliff, for your question. Steve, the event that's coming up in September, what is that all about?
Yeah, it's Shale Insight, which is our annual conference. This is going to be at the Pennsylvania Convention Center in Center City, Philly, on September the 25th and 26th. This is the third annual conference that we've held in Philadelphia over the past 3 years. We've brought in some key public figures, some key private sector and corporate leaders from within our industry to shed light on the good work and the opportunities that are available and being done by our industry in Pennsylvania, and really showcasing Pennsylvania, showcasing Philadelphia, showcasing our region as in many ways the energy capital of the world, and underscoring the opportunities that have been made available by the work that's being done in Pennsylvania and in the surrounding communities and the surrounding states, underscoring and highlighting the technology that is in play now in Pennsylvania and surrounding states, and hearing directly from policymakers and the men and women who make it all work. And we take on issues such as the ones that Cliff brought up, methane migration and methane in groundwater, and we don't shy away from some of the more controversial aspects of the work that's being done by our industry. And again, our goal is to address those questions and those issues with facts, with science, rather than with fear. And that's why this conference is so important and really a capstone event each and every year for our coalition and for our industry.
Well, Steve, we appreciate you, coming on, and we'd like to have you back. We've got a number of other questions. One of the things that the WURD listening audience is concerned with as well is the participation of African American businesses and business owners in this entire process. Can you give us, a quick 30-second answer on that, and we'll make sure that we get you back to talk about that for a whole half hour next time.
No, I'd love to, and there's a great story to be told on that. That same legislation that established the impact fee that I've referenced a couple of times during our call today also established some work that's being done by our industry to ensure that we're properly tracking and working with small and minority-owned and disadvantaged businesses across Pennsylvania to ensure that they are part of what I called that very vibrant and robust supply chain earlier on, to ensure that companies that are doing business here in Pennsylvania are working with local businesses that employ local workers who are raising their families here in Pennsylvania, and ensuring that we're reaching out to smaller and minority-owned and disadvantaged businesses is certainly a part of that. And again, there's a great story to tell on that, and I'd be happy to come back and talk more about it.
Okay, that's what we'll do on the next show. It'd be great to even hold a forum or something where we can get even more information and see how we can participate more from our community. But we appreciate you coming on, Steve, and we thank you for the time and the information. Keep us posted on what's taking place. We'll definitely be reaching back out to you.